Okay, I think we're just about ready to get started. So very much thank you to our esteemed panelists for being here today. The topic is from data to AI decisioning, how AI is redefining the value chain in financial services. And I've had the privilege of being part of AI for Finance 4 years running now. And this has been a topic that's come up again and again. So we'll try and be as specific as possible today. But let me start by throwing a broad question to all our panelists. Where are financial institutions really at when it comes to AI transformation today? Hugues, maybe we can start with yourself.
Yes, of course, thank you. So I would say at BNP Paribas, we are already using AI in key decision processes like, for instance, targeting, scoring, granting, pricing, or managing some key risks like money laundering, cyber threats, or fraud. So basically, as a testimony of this, we have already more than 800 use cases in production in the groups, throughout the group, everywhere in the world. And we generate value above 500 million euros thanks to AI. But always the approach remains very cautious with human in the loop for critical decisions to be taken in a process and a risk management framework at use case level.
If we take a look at the entire industry, I would say that finance in general is probably one of the most advanced industries in terms of AI adoption. But if we take a global perspective on what the technology is capable of as of today, I would say there is a lot more that could be achieved because what is slowing down the adoption as of today is not actually not the technology, but rather the ability of large organizations to integrate it at scale within core business processes. And this is a matter, of course, of risk, compliance, skills. So I think we're still at the very beginning of what we can do with AI.
From a Dell perspective, we spend a lot of time with many different customers. And the very large customers and very large organizations like BNP Paribas or Munich Re are organizations that are more advanced in the experimentation in the journey, many use cases. However, when we look at the slightly smaller organizations, we see that there are still ways to go. There is still a lot of work to do in terms of data modeling, and also I believe that it was Lubomira who mentioned in the previous panel the knowledge management aspect that a lot of people ignore when you are creating a new AI model. So I would say, to answer the question, we are still to a large extent in experimentation phase, starting to accelerate in the larger institutions, many opportunities ahead, ROI not always obvious, but starting to become a real opportunity for FSI companies.
I would agree with Guillaume. I think the technology as such is still quite at the beginning. And we can at the moment, AI or probabilistic AI, I mean AI is around since 60 or 70 years now. But AI in its current stage can help us to optimize sub-processes, but it's not useful at the moment for complex end-to-end orchestrations. And therefore, at the moment, the limit is the technology. And therefore, I would also say the adoption is rather at the beginning than at the end of the journey.
So let's stick with yourself, Fabian. I think one of the themes that we want to touch on today is data foundation and foundational readiness. And in insurance in particular, there's a heavy reliance on probabilistic modeling. So my question is, how has AI changed your approach to risk data, not just in terms of pipeline building, but also data governance, enrichment, etc.?
Yeah, first of all, I mean, we a little bit have to define what AI means. If we talk about machine learning models, more complex statistical models, we are using that since decades for risk modeling. What is new now with the existence of large language models is the ability to build logics based on pre-trained models, which offer, for example, that a large amount of unstructured data can now be used for risk evaluations. So therefore, I would say the very first answer to that question is AI enables us to collect more data, more risk-relevant data, independently now from operational efficiency gains or things like that. Second one, AI has also impressive capabilities, for example, when it comes to insurance contracts or wordings. And I think also here AI plays already a role in managing or evaluating risk. Both, as I said, good starting points, but I guess there will be much more to come, especially when it comes to risk evaluation.
Thank you. And I think sticking to the theme of foundations, Hugh, from a banking perspective, specifically BNP, what do you see as the biggest blocker to going from raw data to model-ready data, and what's actually removed the friction in your organization?
I think before moving to the blocker, I will mention the challenge. You know, the challenge is to make sure that we move fast but safe. So it means making sure that our models fit our requirements. And basically, our requirements are fairness, explainability, transparency, privacy, reliability over time, and monitoring. And when you think about it, it all relies on the underlying data. So those requirements you set to a use case or to your model, at the end of the day, apply on the data. So you need to deploy framework that enables you to ensure that the data feeding your models, so the raw data feeding your model, fits those requirements. So this is why we've deployed a responsible AI principle in the group through an AI policy, a general policy. We have data quality frameworks to ensure the quality of the data that feeds our model. And we have model risk management as well policy. And all of this also is embedded into modeling standards that data scientists need to apply when they develop a model. Then we come to the bottleneck, basically. So the bottleneck is, as you mentioned, Fabian, it's unstructured data. So basically managing the knowledge of the bank, because our knowledge is a bit scattered everywhere, in every geographies, in every entities. We can have different source of truth for the same kind of knowledge. We can have different versions of the same data. We can have outdated data. So this is where we need to improve in managing the knowledge, and then know what is the best way to feed our AI models. So typically the kind of topic we work on with Mistral, through either prompting, so do we feed the prompt with elements of context or elements of info? Do we actionate retrievable, augmented generation, or do we fine-tune basically the algorithm? So these are the main challenge, managing the knowledge and then feed the AI with this knowledge.
And Hugh, we'll stick with you for a second. In your opinion, are financial services overestimating or underestimating how ready their data is for AI?
I think we have a realistic view on it, and we put a decent amount of effort on it. But then I think agentic AI is raising the bar significantly. And when you understand that through agentic, you will no longer analyze the data, but you will take actions, you will actionate workflows, you will take decisions through agents, you understand that you need to raise the bar in the management of your knowledge. And typically we understood through the past experience that the solution is not to ingest as much as possible data in the model and the magic will happen. No, it's really different. At the end of the day, you need to find out maybe the 1%, the 5% of the data that matters, that are meaningful for the purpose or for the process you want to operate. So I think working on data management and data governance on unstructured data is identifying the critical data, the meaningful data, and put it into governance. And in the financial industry, notably in bank, we have a data quality framework imposed by the regulator on risk management. So it's so-called BCBS 239 regulation, for those who know. And we've been deploying these for the past 10 years on structured data. So now the idea is to have the kind of same approach on unstructured data. And also the good news is I'm pretty sure that we will have agents helping us to manage the knowledge. So we will have probably data stewards powered by agents in the near future. So this is how probably we will progress. And I think also what is important is to refocus on data production. So usually when you own an expertise, you produce the data and then you distribute it. And you spend a lot of efforts, maybe more efforts in distributing the data through a web interface, procedure, SharePoint, whatever. But now we will really refocus on the content, production of data, and the distribution will be through a single channel, which is a conversational assistant. And I'm sure you experience it already when you use ChatGPT versus Google or the web. We tend to access more easily to the knowledge through this conversational assistant. So.
Fabian, did you want to add anything to that?
I cannot talk for the whole industry. I would say for Munich Re, we are also we are realistic, we are pragmatic. We started our AI journey many, many years ago, and we try to be as close to reality, what works and what doesn't work. This is sometimes hard, I have to say, because you kind of have to resist against over-promising, but you also have to work against people who are saying AI is not meaning anything for us in our industry. And of course, the reality is in the middle, and it's tough to be there. But I would say, at least for our company, I think we are realistic on what AI can do and what AI can't do.
And I think that's a good segue into starting the discussion on infrastructure. So Ricardo, you sit closest to the infrastructure layer. In your experience, you must have seen many, many clients, right? Where are financial services over or under investing when it comes to building scalable infrastructure? And what are some of the mistakes you see repeated across your clients?
So first of all, let me say that I am not a big believer on the thesis that there is an AI bubble. And the reason why I don't believe in that, if we think a little bit back to the 2000s and what we saw with the internet bubble, as we call it now, in those days, everybody knew that the internet would be revolutionary, but we didn't have a long list of use cases immediately available. Today, as we have heard, we already have hundreds, if not thousands, of use cases leveraging AI. Where I see, to address the question, under-investing, over-investing in terms of infrastructure, that is highly related to a point that you raised earlier, which is structured data versus unstructured data. So until now, for the last 15, 16, 17 years, we have had access to machine learning, we have had access to predictive analytics, and those types of AI were essentially based on structured data. Nowadays, to capture knowledge management, to capture knowledge that sits in many different types of repositories, some of them human repositories, we do need to have a lot more unstructured data capabilities. So that, I would say, is one of the key aspects of underinvesting that we see in the market, because it's perhaps a little bit more difficult as well. In terms of over-investing, what I would say is that some companies are experimenting with perhaps fail fast type of method, and that is one strategy. But perhaps a little bit more focus would be very useful and very positive in some of these organizations. So having an AI implementation strategy that addresses the 4 Ps, as Thomas mentioned earlier, is probably the best way to ensure that your investments are going to be providing returns in a short amount of time.
Thank you. So just to signpost to the audience then, we've spoken a little bit about data foundations and data readiness. We've spoken about the infrastructure layer. And now let's get a little bit more technical and talk about AI models, safety, and ethics. So this one is for yourself, Guillaume. We've seen a shift towards more open weight models at the enterprise level. What do you think? It's a two-part question. So first is, what do you think is driving this shift, particularly in highly regulated industries like FSI? And secondly, what are some of the ethical ramifications that we need to keep in mind?
So maybe it's good to remind everyone of what a weight is. So basically, weights in models are numerical values that defines how the model processes data, which is basically the brain of the model. Open weights models means that the weights, so the brain of the model, are openly accessible to anyone, meaning that you can understand the model better. It's different from the license mode, right? So open weights are can be open source or can be closed source, meaning commercial. If we take a look back on the last 2 years, large organizations, especially in the financial services industries, started with peripheral use cases, meaning chatbots, employee chatbots, most of the time, which is good because it allows to onboard people and to show, first successes, but it's definitely not revolutionary. So to do that, any model that was available was of use and was helpful. Now we see that to achieve the real value of AI, organizations are realizing that they need to bring AI into those core business processes. So KYC, client onboarding, coding assistant, that kind of use cases, which are fairly more complex. And the consequence of that is threefold. First, to do that, you need more control. Second, you need more customization capabilities. And third, you need more transparency. And with that regard of those three challenges, open weights models are the best way to achieve that. It has to be combined as well with the infrastructure layer. This is why we see more and more large organizations like BNP Paribas, for example, who made that choice a long time ago, bringing models into either VPCs or on-premise infrastructures. Because if you just use models in the cloud via APIs, basically it's a managed service, which is good for some use cases, but for central and core use cases, you lack control, and it's probably not a good fit with regulation, compliance, and risk management. So I think of the three, customization, control, and transparency, each and every one is super important. Customization because actually to build custom AI applications that you want to deploy into core systems, you need to custom build it. There's nothing off the shelf as of today. Second, transparency. You need some kind of explainability. You need to understand why the model is behaving this way, why is he giving such an answer, or why is he failing, because assume everything fails all the time. So you need transparency and observability. And the last one is basically control. Because of the regulation, I mean, FSI is highly regulated. You need to prove that you can basically define how the model will behave and shut it down or improve it over time when needed. And to your second point, which was
ethics, ethical ramifications.
Well, I mean, there are many topics that we can discuss about that. I'd say that on one hand, models and the AI-powered applications should be treated as a traditional IT asset, meaning that you need governance, compliance, risk management, security, and so on. AI brings new challenges such as bias management, observability, and what we call human in the loop. So basically the ability to reinforce models learning via human supervision. I'm keeping it short because we don't have much time left.
No, thank you so much. I think let's wrap this up. I'm very keen to get some final thoughts from all the panelists. So we'll start with yourself. Same question to everyone, but Fabien, what is the biggest risk to AI transformation and adoption in your organization? And what's one area that you say is ripe for AI transformation in FSI?
What is the last one?
One area of your business that's ripe and ready for AI transformation.
So when it's about risk, I would say one of the biggest risks is costs going forward. At the moment, the costs for AI, I would say, are still manageable. The question is, which kind of dependencies do we create in technology, and how will the costs develop going forward? I would say cost is a risk when it comes to AI. Another challenge, of course, is also, as we said, having a good estimation about what technology can do and what can technology not do. And the third one might be also convincing at the end the people also to use AI. Yeah? So you, at the end of the day, companies contain of humans, and humans have also to be confident in using AI, I would say. Where is Munich Re already ready to use AI? In a lot of processes. We are using AI and also Gen AI already in all major processes, I would say, in our our enterprise. In some of the processes to a larger extent, in some of them we are still experimental.
Ricardo?
I would say that the number one, in my view, the number one risk is that we try to implement AI too fast, forgetting that there are aspects of AI that are not so much technology related, but are human related, and humans need time to adapt. I don't think that AI is going to be a replacement for humans, and I don't think that it should be a replacement for humans. It should be a collaborator, an automator, perhaps an accelerator, but it should primarily not be seen as a quick fix to human resources issues. And that is, in my view, one of the biggest risks. So taking it slowly, letting the businesses mature, choosing the right processes to automate, to improve, so that we don't enter, let's say, a panic in which we are trying to do AI too fast.
And very quickly, risks for Guillaume and Hugh.
I think what we're seeing at the moment is that many POCs and MVPs are not moving to production. I think that's the big risk, to add many more projects to the graveyard of aborted AI initiatives. And it's all about, I think, laying down the foundations that will allow the scale. And it's not just about models themselves. It's also about having the right platform that will, and the people, by the way, who will just make it possible. And this is what we are doing at Mistral, providing cutting-edge open source models, AI platform to build complex use cases, and the people, the most advanced engineers in the world, to help build complex use cases.
So on risk, I would say the main risk is trust, basically. So if you cannot trust your AI, you have an issue, and it's many pieces that you need to trust. You need to trust your data, make sure they're available and reliable. You need to trust your models, make sure they're performant, and have good partnerships on modeling. This is what we do with Mistral. Trust your infrastructure. They need to be secured and performant. And you need to trust your governance, because you have principles that you want to see deployed. And all these pieces need to be very robust to build the whole edifice. And regarding the ripe for transformation, I would say risk and compliance is probably the place where you have rich data sets, repeatable processes, and incentives from regulators to create value through AI. And I would say the last one is virtual assistant, so client experience. And we are deploying today our virtual assistant at Hello Bank, 250,000 users, leveraging on Mistral model.
Yes.
Deployed this week, and in January it will be on the full client base of Hello Bank that we will have this first virtual assistant available.
Thank you very much to our panelists, and hopefully the audience found that insightful. Thanks a lot.